The Government of David by David Christian Baird. TheUnspokenYes.com, Pittsburgh, 2014. Author's note on terms used in the text. Mode thinking schema. Alpha, layer 1 thinking, intentional thinking, mode. Beta, layer 2, automatic thoughts, ruminations, quasi-mode. Gamma, layer 3, outright insanity, voices, intrusive thoughts, non-mode. If you look to what's written, you die. If you look to the right, you die. Translation, you'll die, however you look. Exactly codes for God. Art codes for Arthur Janov. Always codes for Mother. Realize decodes as realize. David therapy is my recent effort, which has grown out of a struggle with schizophrenia and LSD flashbacks more specifically. Was it the bad acid I took 2 days in a row in 1997, leading to 3 days of extreme discomfort? Is it some rare variant of the schizophrenia I was diagnosed with in 97? Am I not being medicated properly? Whatever the case, every 2 or 3 days I have an LSD flashback condition which lasts hours, up to 8 hours. Things get super colorful and intense. I hear some voices, have some intrusive thoughts. I feel like I'm tripping. There's some eye rolling and anxiety. It can feel like a nightmare. David therapy is the model I've built to cope with these repetitive events. You might ask, isn't it arrogant to title a therapy after yourself? But I seem to be the only one complaining about flashbacks. So this therapy is designed by me, for me. Today's realization is the additional key, form therapy, to complete the picture. David therapy, DT, is transformational, translational, and teleological, goal-directed. Form therapy, on the other hand, is open. It is the simple awareness of what is, the forms that consciousness takes. DT aims to mitigate the flashbacks. Form therapy is a flashback. It is the open becoming of the forms of consciousness through time. The belief is that if you can discipline yourself to know the truth in this way, the flashback will eventually subside. Here is DT, dialectical transformation, What is changing using language? Diametric therapy. A therapy for this kind of condition has to be diametric, has to produce a 180-degree difference. Considering how serious the problems are, SI, SA, SP, suicidal ideation, substance abuse, selective perception. Descriptive treatment. What exactly is happening to you now? Developmental testing. Where are you at developmentally? DT is the surefire way to test for this. Determinate translation. How could this be worded differently? Can you articulate what has passed in present contemporary terms? Dynamic tolerance. Can you tolerate this? Can you tolerate yourself? Discourse topics. Can you talk about this in an interesting rhythm? Dual technique. How could this be done in an alternate way? There has to be one more technique that you're not already trying. Dream telos. Obviously our goal, telos, is to dream. Dysphoria transcendence. We would like to feel good. Delay timing. There might be a slight weight involved. Dimensional transfer. You can use a DT or other idea to hop a dimension and transfer to another mental area. Different talking. Maybe to think differently, we have to talk differently. Disguised thought. What are you really thinking? Discovery tales. Now is a time of discovery. Decide today. Deprivation, torture. Depriving yourself of DT may feel like torture. As you can see, a tall order, powerful, yet with a simple enough structure, DT, to be able to be remembered and worked through in a ritualized manner at various points during the day. Still, however powerful it is, I needed to take it further. A flashback cannot be avoided. Its form must be respected and known, thus form therapy. This book is an elaboration of these initial conditions into a wide variety of expressions, forms. DCB, June 27th, 2014. Scanning, how to for brainwashed children. This, what you do, what you contemplate, as you would figure, different styles of writing, what style of discipline you're down for, you were down for, how it went in your life. How did it go? Not well, and people can tell by looking at you how your life went. I don't think that's rational. I don't think that's real. Explosion, nuclear explosion. But I'm not sure that's what will happen. Insanity. Well, maybe some of that. But you want to know what psychosis is like. The normative matrix, NM. I guess I'm actually on its side. History. I vote with the winners. I'm on the side of the wealthy. The rest of the world doesn't matter. Apart from it crashing in on us, we don't care about it. This is what happens. What you'd figure. Us or them. That's a competition. That's a market. I've come to a turnaround, a realization, a complex realization. I realize whose side I'm on with technology, the wealthy. That's what I want to be. I want to have a good income. I'm American in America. I have that edge. The rose-tinted glasses they handed out at Mount Lebanon, you didn't have to wear them. They have their agenda. I have mine. Number one. First in the world. If you're on the side of the pit philosophers, the most successful philosophers, I guess I'm having a realization. I want to be on the side of the victors in the war of life. The pit philosophers, and Aristotle, Kant, Hegel. This is what today's realization has been. What we could consider. How we could figure. Why always choose the side of the losers in life? If you have the option, the choice, why not choose the winning side? The winners. That is my new realization. What I'm interested in. Power. Power of expression. Power of conceptualization. The pit philosophers are the most powerful people around here. They are who I should focus on if I'm interested in power. Although I don't have to write pit philosophy. I can write ultra-fictional philosophy, UFP. I can write popular stream stuff. But it's good to know the powers that be, who is actually considered to be tops in the world. Wouldn't you be interested in that? Corrupt, as Ether would say. You don't always agree with Ether. For instance, in his evaluation of you, I guess it was all possible. It was all necessary. I'm not just interested in the winners in philosophy. I'm interested in all of it. The whole picture. If such a thing can be imagined, what philosophy has to offer. It's useful. It is instrumental. Does work in the world. I guess I drifted pretty far away. UFP, almost the opposite of philosophy. Maybe, though, something I can succeed at. Voice and voices can be the opposite of philosophy. But the better I know philosophy, the better I'll know its opposite. This is what happens, what we figure. If you were going to write, communication is key between different versions of the self, different eyes. I think I am interested in language, brain language or other language, even machine language. Maybe you need to be aware of both senses. You want to speak brain language, but it's good to know about machine language. It's good to know the mechanical attributes of people entities. We are objects, mechanical, functional entities, in addition to being spirits, persons, souls. What you would have to consider if you were to come this far, thus far. I guess I don't know. I just suppose. Depending on your agenda, what you wanted to look into, pit philosophy or not, your attitude, your vector, trajectory of desire. It can be pretty complex. Your humor can involve the way you can speak, your voice, and of course your voices, your gamma material. You want to segregate gamma material. You want to isolate it and experiment with it safely. Pure gamma material is dangerous, can trigger people to do dangerous, non-normative things. You ultimately want to reinforce the normative matrix. You want order, beauty in the world, organization. You are not for chaos, anarchy. On the contrary, you are for the most sublime organization of human behavior possible? I guess. I don't know. Gert, computer help. Seeing what you're good for. If you were to discover certain things, then I would consider, I would suppose, how carefully you had looked into it if you had never looked into it. I guess, I know, as it would happen, a realization. Power and wealth are what I'm interested in. That could have been a component of my difficulty. Going anti-NM, anti-system. How do you think that's going to turn out? Not very well, usually, in the grand scheme of things. A difficult position to take. What you discover, if you've changed your attitude, if you had a slightly different attitude in the past, anti-normative matrix, however that would turn out, the pit philosophers, some of the most powerful in the world. What you consider, philosophy is corrupt. Philosophy is useful. It serves power. What you consider as you'd figure things you have going on. Now that you realize your project is to get rich, is to be powerful. It's not always to be on the margins. You are more interested in being in the center. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As it would happen, as you would figure, if you were to suppose. Writing a book, a decent, clean book. My first book for publication. How that would go. How you would imagine. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As that would happen, seems to involve a lot of downtime. These conditions. I live a good life. I am satisfied with my life. So what? I have flashbacks that disable me. They're not all the time, just sometimes. How that would go if you were to, as you were to, different things, almost exactly like. It's almost exactly like. Certain people would be curious, at least some of the time, curious what type of thing we've been supporting, what the upshot of all this support has been. How much time are you going to give him? I don't think it will be a problem as it goes, as you figure. Taking a shower is the most erotic thing a human being can do. Taking a shit in public comes close, I think we can guess what David's idea of sexuality is. This is how that would happen. Composite would like to know, would like to inquire what David is doing today, who he is calling, what they are talking about. What you would figure, I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. This is what would happen if you were to. Fairwood, certain doctors. The doctors told us to leave you that way. Stick out your tongue and say, ah. This is what must have happened if you were to. As you were to. How they treated David when David was growing up. What they did to this poor boy. Since then, he's got some payback, some reparations. Decade of no work, no employment, rather, plenty of work. Trying to become a great guitar player / composer, trying to become a great writer. How difficult that might be / become if you were going to. Exactly. Why the insanity? Why the explosion? I thought you wanted to explode. I thought you wanted insanity. To find out again and again how that would go. How you would figure. If you would consider as that would go. David theory. What is going on in David's brain? Can we wonder that? Should David be put in prison / prism? Should we be curious what sorts of indecent material he is churning out at thousands of pages per year? I thought it was okay. I didn't realize I could be triggering people. Maybe I'm for the NM. Maybe I'm not anti-NM after all. I like normalcy. I think the normal American way to be is pretty nice. America is treating me pretty nicely. History is rational. History is fair. The good win, the bad lose. That's what meritocracy means. If you have merit, you rise to the top. Reading DeLillo in German makes you realize how much content he has going, how little content you have going. If you want to write something popular like white noise, voice and voices, the stream of David, might have to take a different approach to popularity. You are not a popular child with the other children. They, in general, did not like you. You had some serious social problems. I'll just mention Alexa Main, although I could mention Shankara also. What you figure, what you'd suppose to have come this far, thus far, then you might imagine, you might suppose that the ultimate solution, housing, you need stable housing. This landlord has been giving you anxiety. You need a decent situation. That will be so nice when you get there, when you finally arrived where you want to be. Yes, moving is stressful. Perhaps, though, not as stressful as staying here. This is what you figure, consider. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As it would go. As it would happen. Things you could be thinking about as you prepare to move. That would mean you'd have to box all your shit up, carry it down the steps and out the door. As that would go, as you would figure / consider different things. Just supposing that you would, if you could. This is like poetry. Ticks going automatically and randomly. It's like a festival of ticks. What we consider as we consider. I guess I'm into participating more in the world, if that were possible. Gert has whatever going on. He has some energy and vision. I seem to be lacking it currently. Might as well hitch on to what he's doing. If I can be a constructive part of things, as that would happen. As you'd consider, I guess, I don't know, I just suppose, as it would happen, as you would happen, if you were going to explode with insanity. Isn't that what you want? To see this far, thus far into it. Isn't that what it's all been about? I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As you'd figure, consider, as that would go. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As that would happen. As you would suppose that. If you were going to. Gert offers a way out. He's a hustler in a good way. Always thinking of the future. I'm a writer but I know my computers. I can help with the technology. This is what happens, how we figure. I guess, I don't know, I just suppose. If you were going to, as you were going to, as that would happen. I'm not sure. Ticks, automatic composition of sentences, lines, no thought involved, just ticking them out, ticking out the lines. I guess it's life. It's a life, whether or not it's a good life is yet to be decided. The market will decide what I've given the world. I am flying, finally, no longer falling. I fell for a long time, 5 books worth. That's a lot of information to give the world. If you get known for voice and voices, they might be interested in what you were writing before that, what the formation of the stream of David was. That's what people might care about. People might consider if you were to suppose. As it happens, housing, central, allowing you to live until your lease runs out. Paranoia, what level you're on. Short hair, presentable, able to go out and do things, join in the game. Not what we have going on. Willing to help Gert with his technology issues. May as well be of some use to the world as it would happen, as you would suppose. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As that would go, as you would figure, if you wanted to, if you were to. Public intoxication, never pressed charges. Do you have a criminal record? Are you disabled? Finally, I can be free of this horrible situation, this terrible apartment scene. I can be free of it. It will only improve me. It will only make me better. Everything. The discipline. What style of punishment you are looking into? Certain types of punishment, discipline, that certain doctors who know your dad might be aware of. What you could consider, how you could figure. I guess. I don't know. Not really. This is what I have to do. What I want to do. Want to know repeatedly what it's like to go crazy. Want to explode onto the scene in the end. If you look at which version you're running, which exact version, I guess, I don't know, not really. When I suppose, when I figure, different things, if I were to suppose, better to be slugged out then in flashback. The PRN medication, the antipsychotic, seems to be working. It seems to have the desired effect. I started taking it at the same time every night, 9 or 9:30. I then realized that even if I was in a full flashback, taking my evening meds would work to relax me and cure the flashback, which makes me think that Zyprexa can be used as an antipsychotic, taken when needed. It's not good just to automatically take it at night every day. This is what happens. This is what you figure. If you were to figure, consider, I guess, I don't know, not really. When I have things to write, when I'm able to treat my disease, disorder, even if it does tire me out a bit, that would be what I'm thinking, what I'm supposing. At this moment, certain channels, how crazy would that seem if you decided to be a certain type of channel? How bad can it be? It can be pretty bad, depending what points you were looking into doing, what you were thinking of doing, time, the time you were looking at. If this alpha mode pressure, how could they have kept quiet for so long? That would take a lot of mode control. If gamma pressure, layer 3 pressure, were impinging on your consciousness, then I would think you get a kick out of returning to alpha, beta layers, if you were able to, as you were to exist. Things, I guess, I don't really know. I just suppose what you do, what you consider. How interesting is a flashback condition to certain people? Why the word certain? Because your mom said it? Is that what sense inside your head? Slave language, under control, under the influence of voices in your head, which you were always looking into. Isn't that how everyone would feel? Being brought up, or just certain people? Maybe normal people feel normal. If you have anything special going on, as Torzent would say it. A lot of this relates to Torzent's pronunciation. Smart kids. What you would have had to have been looking into. I guess. I don't know. like the worst kisser ever. This is what happens. What you'd suppose. In 5 classes with Gillian Kapua, which gave me enough of an edge to go out with her, to, in a sense, fuck her. They played me the tape. You can talk to me now. I'm on meds. I'm recovering. Things that Lucas might consider, as you were to, if you were to. Books, this big. If you were going to open the discussion up for the people, so the people can speak freely. That was your project. Freedom for the free. I thought that might help someone. To sacrifice yourself, though, is that really necessary? To fall. Maybe it will be better now that you're flying. As you'd consider, I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. As it would go, if you, as you were to write things we have going on, I guess I could read about it. Would you want to read about it? It. What is it? This is what you should be thinking about, what you should be doing. If you want to be a writer, if you want to write, then I would imagine, what do you want to write about? A schizophrenic writer? Or you already did that. The missing books did that just fine. Now it's time to write about a different kind of writer, a recovering writer. It's what I'd imagine you to want to talk about, write about. You wouldn't want to perpetually stay in schizophrenia mode if you had an option, an escape, a way out. I would think you'd take it. What, when, things you do. Everyone is here. You are not unique. Everyone has arrived. This is what you think as you continually battle with insanity. It's not just during flashbacks. It's pretty much a continual battle. You might discover that you have an affinity with the commitments and sensibilities of English-speaking philosophers. Whatever philosophy is good for, different things. How we like the argumentation, guidelines of what to talk about, concepts and judgments to argue about. If you would get into a grad seminar, if you would like that kind of experience, depending on what type of philosophy you personally are trying to develop. Contact with other philosophers could be a boon. This is what happens, what we consider. Supported in Pittsburgh, alive and functioning locally, like a grad student or professor, not much income, lots of reading and writing time, how that would go, depending on the kind of philosophy you're developing. UFP, maybe that's it. Maybe it's what your theory runs to. You don't claim to have the truth. You don't claim to be better than. You just claim to be saying things, to be doing things. Delusional. Warn readers of the potential for delusion in your writing. What options you take, certain options for a certain condition, certain medication, antipsychotic medication. Is that what you're taking? What you seem to be taking for a certain psychotic condition? You won. You want. You won. Gamma radiation emanating from your eyes. Is that what they're good for? Radiation of insane energy? Is that what you were imagining? How you'd figure it as that would happen? How that would happen? Happen. Groovy. Is this groovy to you? Studying points of this kind of madness? I guess. I don't know. Not really. I don't know how the brain functions. The strongest point of them all hasn't even been mentioned. This is what we do. Do like it's a drug. Could you get addicted to energy, clarity, unclarity like this? This, what we've come to want to escape. Certain codes. Speaking in coded modes. What mode would you want to be in? As you, if you wanted to escape from your imagination, the works of your imagination. Is this how your imagination worked? What work you thought you were doing? I guess if you just wanted to write about insanity, you could churn out a lot of shit, highly evolved shit, as shit would evolve over time, over seemingly unimaginable lengths of time. I think some of these writers can imagine. I think it's imaginable to certain kinds of writers. I would imagine, as I would imagine. I've developed a new reading technique. I only read a page or two at a time, then go back to the menu, as it would happen, as you would imagine. If you would imagine Imagine how crazy that might feel all the time. To have people looking for points in your eyes. Is that what you asked people to imagine? Yourself. Certain selves. Maybe this is what it's all about. What you were claiming to do. Who you were claiming to be. The point, the most powerful point of all. Is that what you define as the point? Could you define the point, or does it have to merely be given to you? Can you describe the point? Can different people have different points? What was the point of all that time we gave you? All the time. Always. What was always the point? Point? In capitalism, it would be to make money. I don't think this is a purely capitalist system. At least as it applies to me, seems more social, seems to care about me as a person, not just for what I can help sell. Sales don't seem to be the prime modality. Page 18. I was a brainwashed child. The prime point. If you were to imagine a point to what I had been doing as it was going, I guess, I don't know, I just suppose, if you were to look into continually, it must seem continuous, the view you were getting. Perspectives. I bet you've had a lot of perspectives said by a feminist about porn viewing, excessive viewing. Could be, depending what you were to think. As you were to think, if you were to, as you were to, what we're afraid of. Everyone. Is everyone afraid of me mentioning the strongest point? What the strongest point could be? If I were channeling God, if you were to buy into that belief on a periodic basis, it could seem like certain channels were being opened, open channels to God. That may be a delusion, a David illusion. What we do, like an open book, the kind of clarity or unclarity you could have been thinking about. Getting on some of these points as you were thinking of turning them on to certain material, gamma material, let's call it, voices from the other side. You were so keen not to be labeled as gamma, as certain gamma activity could be seen. Better tired than flashback. what you've been looking into. As you've been looking into it, one, a certain amount of clarity for yourself. Reading, visions, drifting to the left. If you look to the right, you die. Looking right on into it, you die. You take your chances when you die. Taking chances with your eyes, rolling the dice. God doesn't play dice with the universe, what you've considered. Why would you listen to gamma activity? Seemed believable. A dead-end street. A big dead-end street. Big dead-end sign on your street. The best kind of street to grow up on. Knowing that you're dead at the end. Good knowledge to impart to children. Reproduction of society. Would you like to reproduce that? What happened to you? Or was it unique? Something like that would never happen to anyone else. That's what you were looking into. You're in a unique kind of trouble. What you could be in trouble for. What kind of trouble? Only trouble is interesting. What you've been interested in looking into. Time, lengths of time, how you consider, how you suppose, philosophy of mind, a bad philosophy of mind. Who is the best philosopher of mind? Freud. Is that what you could have been considering, except with Janov? Thinking Janov had some special sort of access, primal access. Primal with a capital P. Only Janov's clinic, no other clinic, clearly looking into some of Janov's points. You could be clearly seen to be looking into the point. If Janov wasn't God, correct, as clear cut as Janov sees it, are things not so clear as he might imagine? Love. Is that what we're after? Love. A need for love. May become very unhappy when it's time to react. Seems true in a certain extent. To a certain extent. For certain individuals. Not always, I don't think. I don't think Janov's point always reigns. I could have been looking into a slightly different point. This is what I could have been looking into, looking to be into. I guess. I don't know. Usually. What would someone usually say, having been shown this type of world? Do they come in types? Is that what you were really wondering? The focus or lack of focus on a given point or points. What you could forget, how you could forget. letting your eyes drift off center, giving in to the gamma activity about not looking to the right. What you won. Make one of them you. Make one of them a follower of you. Where is David leading us tonight? What's tonight's take on this reaction? Reaction to this tendency. Is this what could be happening all the time? Times you were wandering around, wondering about. Is this what you could have been wondering about the whole time? Wondering about. Is this what your movements were about? Is that how we should say it when someone is like this, a certain way? Could you hope for understanding, a certain amount of understanding for your works? Is that hope or dope? Are you allowed to have hope? A certain amount of hope? Is there any hope for you? Are you lost, wandering among unknown points, like at Virginia Tech, lost in the woods, people you could have turned on to you, in some cases actually did a certain amount of turning on to. Disconnected ultimately. Ultimately, it was a big disconnect. Should we remember? Is this like one of the key points we should remember? Like, what's this good for? Connecting to what? What kind of neighbors? Should we be warned about certain kinds of neighbors? What you could figure as you would consider different things. Why this type of life has to be possible for you, for the world. Why it could be possible for you, for the world. Different things as you could be looking at this, as you'd want to look. If you always use certain coded language, coded modes of control, what he was controlling, how you could keep someone's eyes closed to this, eyes closed, selves closed, lie to them, in other words. Do not tell them the truth. Do not mention the truth. No use or mention of the truth is allowed. What you could be imagining, as he would say, what we would say, what he would say, what she might want to say, or not to say, as the case may have been. Writing a book your parents would want to read. Not always what I was doing, looking into. You have to remember what you've done. Somehow, you have to remember which one you're using when document formats cause a file to go out of sync. This is what happens what you'd figure, as you'd figure. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. What you do, consider. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. What you're really thinking about. This is how it would go if anyone connected the dots. What they would see. What people might see in your eyes as they radiate gamma energy. One look in my eyes at the right time, and you could tell. Certain landlords can tell what you figure, consider. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. What you're really thinking about continually, if that, as that, you're dementing yourself to have gamma material online broadcasted and advertised for free. That's falling. Now that you're flying, you can see what the difference is. Almost. You almost fell to the bottom of the abyss. You learned to fly. Finally. It took a long time. What you'd consider, suppose. I guess if I were to write the truth, to care about the truth, abstract, the more abstract the text, the more immortal. Are you looking at immortality? A certain amount of it. In any amount, wouldn't people care? If you were immortal by any amount, what would an abstract of this text say? Can it be abstracted? Or isn't that the right procedure? Or do you just not want people to know what you've written about? Or do you want people to read the text and not the abstract? Is this what you've figured? Read about the historical details. This is what people do. I don't think writers design their works to be read by their parents. Their revolutionary works, at least. What type of revolution? I had to revolutionize myself first, and then my world. What we'd suppose, what we'd figure. I guess. As a writer, famous as a writer, famous for what? Do you trust the crowd of strangers to be faithful to your subtlety? Do you use subtle arguments? Or is it kind of obvious what we're dealing with here? This is how it goes, how you'd figure. As you would. Different journeys you could imagine making with someone who was crazy as that would go. If you, as you, different things, I guess. I only suppose. I don't know. What I do, what I consider, I guess. I don't know. Been a few since I wrote, typed. Not into doing this as much. More into the craft, editing. I guess you tried different tastes. Has the music enhanced my taste recently? Or is it the layer one? I don't really know. I feel like I have an enhanced appreciation. Very enhanced. Maybe the flashbacks are starting to pay off. LSD primals starting to open up my sensorium. I guess. I don't know. I just suppose. What you'd do, what you'd consider, if you, as you, different things I could be doing. Getting tired of my own voice. Hollywood A. We always knew he was destined for something special, living the dream. I guess I've fallen out of the habit of saying you're living the dream. If you don't write tight for a few, you really lose your technique. You lose your voice. I think you should keep it up. Even if the craft is the ultimate destination, you should still type, I guess. I guess what I would suppose. What you figure, what you consider. I guess if I've come to a realization, complex or not, simple, really, when you come right down to it. The matrix provides you with life, gives life. To be A&M is to be on the side of death. It's as simple as that. But boy, until you find this out, you could be in for some difficult conditions. Some mind-warping conditions. What you signed up for, how that would go, how you would figure if you were to consider philosophy. The academy would not want you because you sit around for hours waiting for Gert to call. That is a sign of how deluded and socially backward you are. Myopic, short-sighted. You can only see this room. That's as far as you were looking. Just to your current room. That's as far as your imagination stretched. If you had opened your eyes to the wide world, you may have discovered things were going slightly differently than described by your A&M theory. For instance, you, the phenomenon of DCB, alive and free in the world, having contributed nothing to society, in a sense, having been a drain on society to this point, as of yet, a negative factor, still supported and given freedom. Amazing what you'd consider how you'd suppose.
One part just killed me.
It's like 6 minutes till it's
Where's your glass?
Optimistic. If it wasn't for this, I would just, everybody's gonna say that.
Alright.
Not yet.
The glasses.
Yeah, for sure.
Millions of years aligning celestial bodies.
It's like a pause. Last this time. Why? Always get positive.
So it's good. It's going to take you 4 minutes.
Really?
Let's start going the other way.
I have 31.
Where's Derek? They're not temporarily used.
10 seconds, then we're tackling.
This height become bigger. So now seeing you get in.
I brought the umbrella, okay? What do you guys
What's
think?
Sarah doing? Like
Stop. Yeah, definitely. I don't mind walking down, I just don't want to walk out. So you call, oh yeah, that's I was like, you definitely want looking at trouble.
Hey, but there were actually a lot of other
Alright, okay, I'll take his back up.
我们还没开始摆造型呢。
I should have been like, you should shut up. Everybody's got soul. Why would you stick to that's what number 8
Yeah.
I don't know him as well as you.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, we'll see you guys
We don't have it.
unless someone recommends.
I'm still not convinced. Study listening. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, that's really cool. Let me get my. So you. Wow. I'd like to see them. What is that? I'm not sure of that.
What just happened? Why is the sun not out?
I lucked out and have like a very good understanding of it.
Can you still see details? So what happens is because of the way your eye is, let it focus.
Alright, buddy. मामा ने बोला कि कल क्लिप से ऐसे फोटो खींचना changed in the car.
因为我眼比较好吧。 没有吧？他应该没有吧？主要你们比较好嘛。那我怎么说呀？你在哪里有那口呢？在哪里？啊，那个。Yeah, I know. It's 45. Yeah, it is. Sims 3. I have it placed though. That's a little more of a debate thing.
Yeah.
Ours pretty exclusively reserved.
Really? I want to meet them.
I kind of want to speak the Sims you should. I'll break the computer.
I got this free code for Sims 2 with all the packs. So I got sunshine and
I like Sims because you can't like zoom out with an app. It's like I have something. I have my need. It's like it can fit my need.
No.
Oh,
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
No. Well, you know what happened to me last night when I was sleeping? So I did
Oops.